And we are back. And usually I talk about life insurance and long term care and health plans and all this other stuff. Um, but we're going to concentrate today in health and Jesus because we all need to always start with Jesus, which is the reason for my being and the reason for everybody's being. And I have here a wonderful guest, Dorinda, and we met through one of my pages in Facebook, a page that I created for helping people that have lupus and other autoimmunes to check other things besides the conventional way. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dorinda. And
Hi.
thank you for being here. Really appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I love doing these interviews because, and I love the way you started it with Jesus, because really that's the whole reason why I'm here and being able to promote the message that there really are better ways to help people to feel better. And we know that, there's a very real spiritual battle around us right now. And that
Mhm.
spiritual battle wants to keep people sick and limited and in victim mode. And there is just no way, if I can help it, I'm going to let that happen. So let's go into battle today, girlfriend.
Yes, yes. So I would like to know, like, I know you're a scientist.
Hmm.
A lot of scientists don't believe in God and believe that everything is fixed by science and hypotheses and theories. How, I mean, I know the background of history. I have a bachelor in history from Texas A&M, that the majority of the early scientists were Christians, right? And so
Yeah.
tell me, I mean, were you always a believer, and what got you from science into crossing the divide into faith and
Yeah.
healing and all this other stuff?
Yeah. Well, I was a Christian before I became a scientist. The Lord called me when I was about 12 years old. But it's just natural to me. Truth is what science is. The study of truth and figuring out
Mhm.
what truth is. That's what science is. We're just trying to figure things out. How does the world work? How do our bodies work, right? And
Mhm.
so all truth comes from God. So of course science is from God. And there's a lot of wonderful scientists in the world who know that. And actually, I know quite a few people who, and also you can just find them on the internet too, who literally they were scientists, and the more they studied, the more they realized, oh my goodness, that this could not have just happened by chance or by evolution, that obviously there has to be
Exactly.
a creator. And
Yeah, we have to give examples, right? Because if the Earth moves a little bit too close to the sun, boom, we burn. If
we're all
we
dead.
move a little bit too far from the sun, we freeze. So
We're all dead.
just simple things that people, I mean, you can't, there has to be an intelligent designer,
Right.
and he was not created by anything. He was in
Yeah.
assistance, right? And so
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah, that's true. Like again, but it's like, so, and then now the part of you being a Christian and you being a scientist, did you have a health crisis that pushed you into getting into natural healings and stuff like that?
Yeah, so I would not have chosen this path for my life. God obviously did it for his purposes and his reasons. And now looking back on it, I'm glad that he did. But what happened to me was really tragic. I was working on, I did my master's, and I was a single mom. So I was working really hard. You know, no one paid for my education, right? I was doing this all on my own with student loans and just working hard and taking care of my daughter. And so I did my bachelor's degree, and then I did my master's degree, and then I'm working on my PhD, and the Lord was opening doors. And I I was actually very interested in the study of the immune system. And
Huh.
then, right. I mean, this is all the Lord doing. I was very, very interested in the study of the immune system. And then the Lord put me with an advisor for my master's and PhD program that was a Christian man that that was just an incredible genius in the field. And his study was the study of immunotoxicology, which
Oh,
is the
wow.
study of how toxins affect the immune system. And then the Lord got me all interested in the specificity of autoimmune diseases because they were so interesting. There were so many people suffering. But at this time, I didn't know that I was already developing my own autoimmune diseases. I didn't know. I had had multiple symptoms for many years. Since the time I was about 12 years old, I started having a lot of wild symptoms. And of course, you just do the normal thing. You go from doctor to doctor to doctor. And this doctor says, well, you have migraines. And that doctor says, well, you have plantar fasciitis in your feet. And that doctor says that, oh, you have IBS. And right,
Well, the doctor said you're young, you're not really suffering.
or it's just stress. Now I
But
heard
you're growing, and
yeah. It's just stress because you're a PhD student. Of course, you've got a ton of stress. You're a single mom. Of course, you've got a ton of stress. So it's just stress. Your labs look normal, or they're just a little off. It's not a big deal. But what I looking back now, I can see the Lord had me go through all of this so that I could have the whole picture and I could have not only the scientific knowledge, but also the compassion and the love and, even the understanding of the emotional roller coaster and really the pure hell that people walk through when they're suffering with severe chronic illness or autoimmune disease. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's it. Doesn't it feel, when you're like in that moment? I mean, in that health crisis moment, like you're like in this dark place,
Mm, very much.
and you can't get out, and so then you start thinking that reality and everything around you is the only thing, and it just again everything is connected: health, wealth, and relationships.
Mhm.
All of it is connected. And yeah, right. Health, wealth, relationships, and beliefs.
Mhm.
Let's say that, because but I'm like, wow. And it becomes then all that you think about.
Mm.
That I stopped. Again, like you said, I fell by the cracks. I was 10 when I started having symptoms of lupus, and they didn't diagnose me until I was 35. And basically, just thinking, oh well, there's something wrong with me. Like, what about that? That not having a label and how that affects you. But then when you get the label, it feels like it's worse.
That's just it. Then you're stuck.
Hmm.
Yeah. And this is the trap that evil wants us to be in, right? Because if you're stuck in a trap with a label and you think that, well, this is just the way my life is and there's nothing I can do, or I can only do a few little things. I can only take my big pharma medications. That's all I can do. Right. The doctors say this, so this must absolutely be true. And I'm just going to believe it. These are the traps that evil wants us stuck in as followers of God, because, he really is right. Evil really is roaring around like a roaring lion. He's running around like a roaring lion, trying to knock us off our feet and trying to keep us basically in a place where we cannot achieve everything that God created us to achieve. And that's the big lie, right? And that's the big lie that chronic illness gets us stuck in. And you said it so beautifully. You said, yeah, you feel stuck. And once you get the diagnosis, right? First, you run around and you waste so much time trying to find the diagnosis. Then, once you get the diagnosis, now you feel completely stuck and you feel broken and you feel like, okay, well, this is just the way my life is. And what I learned And what many, many, many great doctors and scientists are teaching now is that there really is a better way to take care of our bodies. We don't have to just put all of our eggs in the basket of conventional, big pharma funded, insurance controlled medicine.
Thank
There
you for
is a
saying
better
that,
way.
because let's be real, Dorinda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The medical establishment is not a heal. It's not in the healing business. I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. It's not in the healing business. Um, I tried the conventional medications for my lupus. I had diabetes. Fibromyalgia, and they took half of my lung
Mm.
15 years ago because I had something there, but it didn't work. And this year, I had another health crisis at the beginning of the year where
Mm.
my sugars were too high and I was having issues with my vision. And I said, "That's it. I'm
Mm.
50 now. I'm 51. If I lose my eyesight, that's it. Then I'm going to be completely dependent on my husband and everybody else around me." And I said, "No more,
No more.
no more." And that whole victim mentality is what made me push me to do a page, because I didn't want to get into doing that stuff because I got all the stuff, right? But I said, no, I'm seeing all this negativity. Oh, I have this rash. Oh, but let's be real. How many of these things are self-inflicted? And how many of these things, when you tell people the truth, they don't want to hear it?
Mm.
When you
That's
become
really,
enemy, you become enemy number one.
yeah. And that's a really hard point. And that's a battle that we as practitioners fight every single day. It's a very real spiritual battle that when people are stuck in their beliefs and their mindsets, number one, it's very, very difficult for them to even think that they could possibly heal, right? Because everything else, even if you turn on the TV and watch Fox News, or you turn on the TV and watch any news channel or any of these things, okay, so things are starting to change. We're starting to see things like Dr. Oz, and he's starting to talk about some different ways of taking care of our health. But I'm
Mhm.
sorry, he's not there yet. Okay. RFK Jr., who is actually doing a good job of making some changes in our government. Yes, he's making some very positive changes, and I'm very excited to see it. And all, people who are in my side of the thing, we're very, very excited to see it. But I'm sorry, it's baby steps. It's not enough. Science is literally, the studies have been done that prove that science and all of the new medical discoveries that help people heal, that really are saving lives, that is 17 years ahead of where doctors are practicing right now. And most of this science is not even taught in medical schools yet. And this is the message that we've got to get out to people,
Mhm.
that if you feel and you believe that you are stuck and that you cannot heal because some doctor told you this, or you're looking at all the research on WebMD and you're believing all of that, you need to know that there are two different sides of science going on right now, and have been going on for over 100 years, actually. And there
Yeah.
was a big division between pharmaceutical-based, insurance-controlled medicine and natural medicine.
It's
And
getting, they used to be like this at the beginning. I mean, let's be real.
used to be together. Yes.
The beginning, before medicine was conventional medicine was pushed, it was natural stuff.
Because
You will
that's,
go and get a tea. You will
yeah,
go and do this and that, and not eat this and not eat that. Get some sun, because that even solariums are gone out of the
right,
hospitals like it was, because now taking the sun is horrible, right?
right, right.
But as it became and separated, and I actually live in Germany for 4 years, and they have conventional and natural
Have great
medicine
alternative
combined in
medicine.
there.
They
I
do.
love that.
Yes.
It just keeps going far, far away. And then you're noticing that the more medications you take, the worse you feel, and then you need a medication to fix the problem of the other medication, because it doesn't go to the root cause.
Right.
We're being
Exactly.
poisoned. We're being
Yeah.
poisoned by water, food, and air. And
Yeah.
so the first thing that I tell people is about a detoxing. Talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. So let me go back even a little bit further for you too, right? So we can give people like the really big picture here. Number one, yes, you're right. The pharmaceutical industry in giving you this pill for an ill and then that pill for an ill, because now you have a side effect from the previous pill, and it compounds on each other. That was my experience as well. So I actually developed and had 7 autoimmune diseases diagnosed within 3 years. And I also had severe fibromyalgia. Of course, that's the label they give everybody. But within about 3 to 4 years, I was on 20 different medications. 12 of those I had to take every single day. The other 8 were ones that I could use if things got really, really bad. Okay. And this is the way I lived my life for nearly 15 years before the Lord showed me that there was a better way, that there was a whole other body of evidence. There was a whole other side of science that we could use, remembering that it's God's science, right? And that you could do both at the same time. And I did. It took me about 2 years to heal. And I did both for a while and slowly was able to get off of all of the big pharma. And my own personal story is that I consider myself 95% healed at this point. I don't believe that there's like 100% cure unless God decides to zap you. There's still work that he wants to do in your life. But I feel great. I'm no longer that sick person with that sick mindset, with a sick body and sick spirituality. Right now, I am actively living in the purpose that God created me for, because I was able to open my eyes and be willing to learn about other things that could help me. Right. And of course, I did this with prayer. I did this, God was the one who showed me that there was another avenue of science to even look into in the first
Exactly.
place. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so this can be done. And it really, what we see in the science today, and this is what's very, very, very exciting. And this is, I'm going to get my geek on, and I'm going to really start showing my heart here, because what's so exciting is that with this other body of science that we know of, we know that we are reversing Alzheimer's disease now. Okay. One of the worst diseases that a person could possibly develop, we're actually reversing Alzheimer's disease. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want people to flip off the channel and say, oh my gosh, this lady's crazy. She's just, speaking a bunch of hooey.
Well, so talking about Alzheimer's specifically, and I'm glad that you mentioned that you get diagnosed with one autoimmune, and then there's more. The majority of us that have been diagnosed with an autoimmune is more than, you start with one and it just multiplies.
Right.
So again, detoxing, how important is that? And would you say that the majority of the main cause of, like I said, water, air, and food were being poisoned? So we have to be cleaning. I call ourselves, because since we're mostly water, I said that we're like an aquarium. We're either an aquarium or we're a cesspool. When you have health issues, you're a cesspool. And as you clean you become an aquarium, right? How important is detoxing and cutting sugar?
Yeah.
Because I would say that that's the main problem that most of the people have.
Yeah.
And let's be real, being sick is expensive. I know I actually put people on health plans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The other day I put somebody in a health plan, and this person had 20 something plus medications, and she is 40 something. Mm-hmm. She's younger than me. I'm 51. Mm-hmm. I'm only in 2 medications, and I will be out of those 2 medications by the next year. And I was on way more medications before. But how important is detoxing? And what you tell yourself, because that's another thing, is detoxing
Mm.
from your body and detoxing from your mind? Comment on that.
Absolutely both. So as an immunotoxicologist, that's my scientific field. Um, I can tell you that the toxicities are really the number one reason why people become sick. And people become sick from toxicities that come into their bodies in multiple ways. Yes, spiritual ways, right? Yes, emotional toxicity, right? The things that we believe, the things that we choose to believe, but very much so your physical chronic illness, no matter what chronic illness you're talking about, if it's one of those, ongoing chronic illness type things, okay, these are caused, the number one reason we know is because of the toxins, and the toxins come in on your food primarily. And that's why, and we look at it, and who knows what the actual value is, but we say about 50% of your toxins are coming in on your food. Okay. That should scare the you know what out of every single person, because most of the food in the grocery store is poison.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth.
Yep.
Almost every restaurant on every single street corner is poison. Okay. It's
They're
not,
poisoning it on purpose, right? Because if you research on what they're putting in the seed oils,
it's not just seed oils though.
soybean oils,
It's just, there are so many
MSG,
additives.
uh,
Yeah. It's not
insect coloring.
right. It's not,
They're putting insects in our food, guys.
well, and it's not just that. It's most of our wheat, corn, and soy are sprayed with glyphosate and other herbicides and pesticides that are literally killing our gut health. And honestly, a lot of doctors and scientists are starting to look at this fact and say, look, over the years, we never used to have the epidemic of anxiety and depression that we see in our young people, and also in people our age too, right? This epidemic of anxiety and depression and hormonal issues and problems with infertility, right? All of these issues, and they go directly back to our gut health. And it's because of what we're eating. We're eating tons of wheat, corn, and soy products that are totally laden and poisoned with glyphosate and microplastics and pesticides and
Would
herbicides,
you say that the
everything else.
increase? Would you say that the increase of gluten celiac allergies is connected to that?
100%. 100%, because I am one of those persons who genetically, I don't tolerate, I have those HLA genes that say that I don't tolerate gluten very well,
Mm.
right? I get, still to this day, if I try to cheat with some gluten, now I can get away with it now because I'm much healthier than I was years ago, and my inflammation overall is down. And so if I want to play around with a little bit of gluten once in a while, I can, because it only raises my inflammation a little, but I will feel it. I will notice it, right? If I use a flour from Italy, which is very expensive, and every now and then, if it's like a holiday or something, and I want to do some baking and I want to cheat, I will get this product from Italy that is just pure wheat from Italy, where they're not allowed to spray glyphosate. They don't have it, right? It's an organic product. And when I eat that, I do not have the same inflammatory symptoms. So obviously, and most people will tell you this, whether you have those HLA genes or not, most people will tell you that when they eat the normal American gluten, they do have some type of inflammatory symptom.
Wow, wow, wow,
So
wow.
they just don't necessarily link those two together. They just walk around saying, well, yeah, I have high blood pressure, or I have diabetes, or I have this, or I have that, or my feet hurt, or my head hurts, or I have migraines, or I have this, or I have that. And really, what does it boil down to? It really boils down to the fact that, and I'm going to say something that sometimes people get mad at me for saying, but I want you to hear me say it in love. God designed our bodies to live a certain way, right? He's the designer. right? He's the engineer.
Mhm.
He created our bodies to eat real food, to not be overexposed to thousands of chemicals. Little babies are born now with over 200 cancer causing, endocrine disrupting, absolutely gut destroying chemicals in their bodies from the
And
womb.
they add how many vaccines in the first year to make
Exactly.
it worse?
We're not supposed to live like this. God did not design our bodies to live like this. And so this is what my biggest message is. And this is what the science actually proves, that the more we get our bodies back in line, and not just our bodies, but our emotional health, our spiritual health, right? The more we line up with the way God designed us to live, the
Mhm.
healthier we are, the happier we are, the calmer we are, the more at peace we are.
Mhm.
And then we can achieve everything that God gave us to achieve, right? But
Mhm.
the more we continue to live believing in this broken society that is poisoning us with the food, that's poisoning us with vaccines, that's poisoning us, and vaccines are poisonous. Now, a lot of people can tolerate them, but many people cannot. Okay, it does boil down to your level of toxicity. That toxicity that's already in your body and your particular genetics, right? If you've got particular genetics that say that you don't detox well, or that you have predispositions for inflammatory conditions, well, you better not give that little baby a whole bunch of vaccines at once, because that's just loading toxins into their bodies that their poor little
Mhm.
bodies can't handle. And that's what the science says now. That's what most of us believe now. If we're in the camp of being careful with vaccines, I'm not against vaccines. I'm an
Now, I want to ask you something very controversial because we went through a pandemic where they pushed an mRNA, a vaccine that basically changes your DNA as something normal. Let's comment on that
yeah.
because
So
nobody has had the
I
pants
know
to
what you're going to
say.
say. Well, there's plenty of doctors and scientists out there speaking the truth on this of what we believe. And I'm not afraid to say it either. That's one thing that people know me for, is being a very bold whistleblower. And
Mhm.
I myself am not vaccinated yet. I'm an immunotoxicologist. I'm an immunologist. Okay. This is what immunologists do. We do a lot of vaccine work. Okay. I myself am not vaccinated for COVID. So that should answer your question right there.
Me neither, by the way. Yes, I said it. So, okay. So, yeah. So basically, and why is it that people were wearing masks? This is another thing that I say. I learned, and this is elementary science. You breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon
Carbon monoxide.
monoxide.
Carbon
Is it
dioxide, not
normal?
carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Is it normal to have a mask? Wouldn't you be suffocating yourself? Because I still see people doing that,
Yeah.
and it just makes me like it just. Oh my gosh.
It's not healthy, but number one, it's just another one of those lies that that evil perpetrates on people who don't understand, or people who don't have the knowledge, right? And let's just be clear that if you don't know what you don't know, you don't know it. Right? And if doctors and the people at the top of our government are saying, well, you better wear a mask, most people are just going to believe it, right? And from the very beginning of that, scientists like me were shaking our heads and going, what are you talking about? Those masks do not filter out those tiny little, teeny
They said it.
tiny
Listen, it's
little
like
viruses. Those
listen.
masks do not do
I,
that. You would
I
have to
want
have
to give an
a
analogy.
mask.
I want to give an analogy to people so they understand. Okay. And I wasn't going to talk about the sex part of it, but anyway, for me, a mask is like having a tennis racket and somebody's trying to send sand. Would the racket stop it? No. And it's the same as a condom that says, oh, it protects you from everything, which is another lie.
Right.
Comment on that, because I'm like, people just wake up. Like, I question everything. That's why I got in trouble in my life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it led me to feel in less than a year, I mean, last year, 7.7 A1C to 6.2 today.
Incredible work.
Less than a year.
Oh, good for you.
Walking and doing the normal things that we grew up doing, getting sun, walking, moving, stretching.
Yeah, and you will get even better results. See, that's just the foundation of health, making sure that you're getting your sunlight, that you're taking care of your mitochondria, which we got to talk about today, that that you're eating right, you're exercising, you're not staying up all night watching Netflix, right? Those are just your basic foundations for health that are very, very important, that most people, our kids are not taught this nowadays. We weren't taught this, right? We were taught just do whatever and go to the doctor and get a pill for an ill if something goes wrong, right? And that's not the way God designed our bodies. And so getting back to basics and the fundamentals is extremely important. The whole thing about COVID, I mean, we could talk about that for about 10 hours, but the bottom line is that if, and this is, people know this now, thank God, people's eyes are open now, and now they know that, that the people who had the worst problems, and I know people who died, okay? And so this is severe and horrible, absolutely horrifying. But those people all had metabolic disorder before they had the severe complications of COVID. Okay.
So they didn't wait. So they didn't die of COVID. They died of comorbidities. Now,
Well,
I something came to my mind when you were saying that. And I always believe this, and I don't know because I'm not a scientist, but I believe that the whole COVID thing was a chemical warfare because I never seen a virus like that. Am I right or what?
we don't really know, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of speculation out there. We don't really know. And people fall on different camps on this. But the bottom line that we do know is that the people who had the most severest complications from COVID, whether they got long COVID or whether they actually succumbed to the disease, those people already had underlying metabolic dysfunction. So let's talk about the metabolic dysfunction because it's very, very important. I want to make sure that people come away from this interview today and they actually know how to start taking better care of themselves, right? That they know why they don't feel good, number one, and that they know how to start taking control over this. And it really does boil, according to all the literature that's out there, even the pharmaceutical literature, okay, it all comes together. And we know that it boils down to your metabolic health. Now, let's make sure that people understand what metabolic health is. Mm-hmm. Metabolic health has to do with your mitochondrial functioning. So what are mitochondria? I know everybody's heard that word and they remember back to high school biology, and they are those little cells within all your cells that create all of your energy, that create ATP and give you the gas to go, right? And of course, if your car runs out of gas and you don't put gas in it, you die, right? Your car dies. You're not going anywhere, okay? It's the same thing. Your mitochondria are not only what are producing all of your energy. That's what we used to think years ago. The old school conventional dogma is, oh, they just produce energy. That's all they do. The science is very, very clear now. And people need to hear this loud and clear, that all disease is basically boiling down to, at least chronic disease, like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, fibromyalgia, right, Alzheimer's, all of these chronic diseases boil down to, and even cancer, by the way, they boil down to your mitochondrial health. Okay. If your mitochondria are sick, and they're not producing all of the energy and they get wonky, they are literally causing, they're the first domino that needs to fall for you to even develop a chronic disease in the first place. In other words, you have to have some kind of metabolic dysfunction or you will be healthy. And every disease boils down to metabolic dysfunction as that very first step of what goes wrong. And then all the other things get messed up. And this is why people get so confused, is because, oh no, I have a liver disease. Oh no, I have a brain disease. Oh no, I have a gut disease.
Those are the results. That's the symptoms of the kernel, of the root of the problem. It's not really, and this is why I'm like, I don't. I use conventional, the scientific. I go to the doctor, to rheumatologist. I don't take any medication for my autoimmunes, but I go there to get my systems checked. And so I told them I don't believe in medications. I tried them; it didn't make me feel better. And as somebody that's an adult, I have a right to what comes to my body. They cannot force me, right? The doctor can't force me to take this and that.
Amen.
Unless you're in the VA, by the way. That's another subject where we might have to talk another time. But
you also, not only as an adult, you have a choice in how you choose to take care of your body. I'm going to say this, and this is another thing that people don't really like it when I say it, and I'll get a lot of hate mail for this. You have a responsibility from God to steward your body in a way that is
I am actually applauding, because I agree with you, because I will say that some people don't want to know. They're like the ostrich that put their hand under the ground. But there's some people know. Like, I knew a lot of stuff because I've been studying, but there's a difference between knowing and doing. And then once I got scared, then I'm like, okay, that's it.
Then you said, okay, now I'm going to do it. Right?
Either that, or I lose my vision and I lose my legs as a diabetic. I mean,
that's not okay.
That's it, because then you lose your legs, you're done. You can't really walk. You can't really do normal things. You can't,
Right. And so, and that's true about most people. I think most people need to be scared before they'll finally make those hard, challenging changes that they really do need to make. Because let's face it, when you start working on your mitochondrial health and you start actually doing the things that you have to do in order to get your health back again. Yes, you can reverse, just because your mitochondria are sick right now, you're reproducing many, many hundreds of millions of cells every single day of your life. Every day that you're alive, your body is killing off those inflammatory cells and reproducing, recreating, regenerating brand new cells. Now, those brand new cells are not as healthy as they could be because you're still living in a very toxic environment.
It's cesspool, right?
You're still living in that cesspool. You're still putting things on the end of your fork that are killing you.
So, question, is there a point of no return? Because I want to warn people
Sure.
not to keep playing with their bodies, because like I have family members that end up with dialysis because their kidneys were not working. When is a time that you can overturn this? And what exactly is mitochondrial health?
Okay,
What do we do?
Questions. Yeah. So is there a point of no return? Yeah, absolutely. And of course, there's death. That's the point of no return.
Well, yes, but I'm not talking about that point of no return.
What the question that I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the question that I think you're really asking is, if I'm really sick, is it too late for me to start working on my health?
Exactly.
Right? The answer is, if you're still alive, you have a responsibility to learn everything that you can and to steward your health in a positive way. Will you get better? Yes. Will you get all the way 100% better? Maybe not, but who cares? Okay. So long as you are doing the right thing, you're living your life aligned with the way God intended you to live, you're pleasing Him, you're able to do more things, you will get healthier. Okay. I have seen people, and I myself am one of those persons who I was that person who was sick and I was actually disabled. I could barely go to church if I didn't take all these different medications, right? I was on the couch in a fetal position often, just crying, just the pain was so severe. Okay. So I know what it's like to be so severely sick. And doctors told me that I had an average of 10 years to live. And at this point, when I found precision healthcare and functional healthcare, I was about 14 years into my illness, and they told me I only had about 10 years to live. So I was overdue to die.
Dang.
And I had 7 diagnosed autoimmune diseases, 20 different medications, severe fibromyalgia. Okay, I was a sick puppy. And yet I turned it all around, and I consider myself 95% basically healed at this point. And no one could ever say that, okay, we're just going to, promise you 100% cure,
No, yeah, no, because again, it's impossible it's impossible. It's not impossible for God.
Right.
So,
If God
because,
wants
and let me just be very clear, because nothing is impossible for God.
right. And if
But
God,
because of self-inflicting
yeah,
and things that we keep eating and the water, the air, and the food,
yeah, yeah.
it's like having a nice aquarium and it keeps getting dirty and you have to keep cleaning
How
it.
are you supposed to get healthy when you're under those conditions? So let me say this, because I kind of have to, and this has gotten me in trouble before too, but I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it in love. Stop going to your Bible studies and crying out to all of your, all of the people around you in your small groups and asking them to pray for you because you need healing from this illness and that illness and this illness and that illness, when you just got done eating nothing but crap in a buffet at that Bible study.
No, I totally agree with you, because you and I are in the same spectrum.
Yeah.
That I want to tell. I think as a society, we have actually lost connection with the truth. And
Yes.
even saying truth in love, people get angry. You know what?
Yes.
It's self-inflicted, a lot of the things that we do. Yes, we got water. We have water, food, and air poison. But when you add on top of those things more junk to your body that is supposed to be the temple of the Holy Spirit as a Christian,
Yeah.
then you are wrong. And I know, because I am that person that, like I said, I was that person that wasn't being proactive, that knew, hey, this, that, and I wasn't doing what I needed to do. So again, self-inflicting, pray, but act. Pray,
Yes.
because we're supposed to live the abundant life with God, and He gives us everything that we need, that even while we're here, even when we're in the worst conditions, even through our sinfulness, He is there.
He still is there, and He's still blessing us with life and living, even though He's allowing us to reap the consequences of our actions. And when we're eating nothing but poison, when we don't have the knowledge to take care of ourselves, and that's where really, I say the truth, but really, I know I was there. I know how hard it is to change the way you eat. I know how hard it is to change the way you're living. I know how hard it is to go against everyone else at the Bible study when they think that you're being an extremist because you don't want to eat what they brought you. Okay. I know the emotional hardship that that causes. I know the trauma that that causes and the rejection that people feel when they go against the grain of society.
Mhm.
Okay. And okay, I'm opening a whole big can of worms. So I know how hard this is to change your life. But God called you to do hard things. He called you to be challenged. He called you for growth. And He allowed you to be sick in the first place so that you could grow and trust in Him. That
Amen.
is a
Amen.
very real truth. And so I've helped literally, I've taught thousands of people how to heal. And I've helped so many people privately, hundreds of people privately.
Mhm.
And what I see in every single person is this beautiful spiritual and emotional growth that comes with the process when they decide that they're going to challenge themselves to heal physically. They
Mhm.
get so much more. They get so much more because they change emotionally. They grow spiritually. They become different people. They become better
Mhm.
people for going through that challenge. And so I know that even though I went through hell, my granddaughter, my daughter, we all went through hell. I even lost my husband as part of my illness. I mean,
Mhm.
okay, so much trauma, so much hardship that illness causes, okay? But being able to walk out of that and get my life back, get my purpose back, get up off the couch for crying out loud, get off of all of the medication, be able to be in control of my health. I am in control of my health. My health is no longer a mystery to me anymore. I am
Mhm.
in control. I know how to control these things, right? Because I have the knowledge. And being in that place and also being in a place where the Lord has taught me how to trust him in a way that is way more massive than I did 20 years ago when I was sick. I
Amen. Amen.
go through it all over again just to have this level of just love and compassion and spiritual growth. And it's still going on, right? I'm still growing because I'm still here. I would not trade that for anything in the world. And if God says that everything that happens to you is for a good reason and it's for your good, then He means it. And I'm just sitting there saying that, yeah, that's the truth in my life. That I
Amen.
feel that
Amen.
it's for a good purpose, and your illness is for a good purpose. And everyone watching, your illness is for a good purpose if you don't let evil win, right? Don't stop learning and stop
Mhm.
growing and just get stuck in this, conventional side. And I'm not saying there's no good to that because the medications helped me too. But at the same time, they were hurting me because they really weren't they were only looking at one thing or one symptom. And then they were screwing up like 10 other processes at the cellular level.
Exactly. Exactly. Now,
That's
I
why.
want to ask you about something a little bit different because I noticed that there's a lot of things that can hurt us, and I'm not talking only about the medicine and the food and the water and the everything that we discussed, but things that are pushed by the doctors today that are against Christian teaching, like yoga
Yeah.
and Reiki and
Yes.
all this other stuff. Can you comment on that very, very quickly? Because again, at the end of the day, you might be worse than it might. I think it's worse than medication, and I know that.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm so glad you brought this up because the Lord told me this morning that I wanted to make sure and touch on this subject. So I'm so glad that you reminded me. In the what we call the alternative medicine side of things. So I told you there's the conventional side of science, and then there's this whole like other body of science that
Mhm.
that we label it alternative. I hate that label, by the way, because it's really God's science. Okay. It's all God's science, but some of it is just pushing the pills. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to get back to aligning. But here's the truth. This whole, what we call alternative side of science has been corrupted as well. Okay. So it's not just that this conventional medicine side has been corrupted by profit and, and corruption. Okay. The alternative side has been corrupted as well. And it's been corrupted by a lot of new age thinking. Okay. And the new age thinking, I mean, and if you dive down this and you start watching the YouTube videos and you start learning from a lot of the great teachers out there, you will see that a lot of them, even the top dogs, like Dr. Mark Hyman, who is wonderful. I attribute him with saving my life. Okay. He's one of the top functional doctors in the world. And his mentor, Dr. Jeffrey Bland, who runs the plmi.org, and people should look that up. There's so much science there that it will blow your mind. Okay. Even these people, they're wonderful, 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 but they're swayed more on the new age side of thinking. Okay. And so you'll see a lot of things about like getting into using psychedelics in order to help people with not only their emotional traumas, but also with their physical, right? And of course, people like me and you, strong Christians, we don't play with psychedelics, okay? Because that opens up a spiritual realm that is lying to us. And God made that very, very, very clear in Scripture.
Tai Chi is another one. And a lot of the churches have gotten into this stuff too.
And
So
the
Tai
Reiki,
Chi,
and the yes, and all of this is, for one thing, there is a very real spiritual energy that has to do with mitochondrial healing. Okay, so your mitochondria do run on light. This is scientific proven fact. Okay, the light comes from God. The light comes from the sun. Okay, the light does.
SON. Very, very clear. SON.
Yes.
The sun.
Right. But people can be, and
SON.
also SUN, both.
Yeah, I know. I have to. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
People can be swayed into believing, once they go down these psychedelic trips, thinking that they're healing themselves. Right. And there's a lot of very famous people out there who have done this, and they're pushing this. And literally, if you listen to them, you hear a very clear message that we're all one, which is good. That's what Jesus said. But basically, Jesus is not the deity, that the universe is the deity.
And all is everything, and everything is all.
And serving the
just
creator.
not Christian teaching.
It's not biblical teaching, right? And of course, they think that they're enlightened, and they think that that's
because God is above His creation. He made
God
His
is above the universe.
all of the creation. That's a big difference.
Right? Right. And so we have to be very, very careful, even when we're choosing a functional doctor, or what the kind of work that we do here in our clinic is precision healthcare, which is kind of the next level up, looking at all the longevity, the mitochondrial studies, the genetic fixes, fixing your cellular deficiencies in a very precision level, fixing your toxicities very precisely, right? Even when you choose a practitioner to work with, you have to be very discerning. You really should talk to them about where they land spiritually.
Mm.
Okay. You
And
really,
I didn't mention this is another thing because I had contact with this for a long time, and I'm going to make some people angry saying this, but there's a lot of connections between a lot of different things and Freemasonry, which
oh
has gotten into the churches. And again, I'm just like, because my dad is a Freemason and I was a Rainbow Kid, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with it.
you're right. Yeah. It's
That,
dangerous.
but it's like I want people to be aware, which is one of the reasons that I don't want just anybody to touch me.
Yeah. And,
It's an
and,
example.
and that's why, here in our practice here, this is what God taught me, right? It really is all about being very discerning of the science and the teachings that are out there
Mhm.
and seeing what really is of God and what isn't,
Take
right?
what is good and leave what is bad.
Yeah. And we know the mitochondrial studies are very real,
It's
right?
science, exactly. Thank God.
Right?
The
The science,
science.
yeah, the science on the mitochondria are very real. And it's very obvious the more we learn, like, I mean, look around you right now. There's a lot of people who were against Christianity for a long time, and now they're coming to become,
Mhm.
they're becoming Christians, like very
Mhm.
famous people like Joe Rogan and
Mhm.
oh, I forget all their names, but all these very famous people all over the internet, and they're coming around to Christianity. There's a reason for that,
Mhm.
right? I think we very much are in the end times. Who knows where we are, right? I'm not a conspiracy theorist, right? But we see the signs and the times, and we know that we're all being called back because we're all God's creation. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter where you are spiritually. He created us, right?
Mhm.
And He
Amen.
wants us all to come back in alignment with Him. And
Mhm.
this really does need to be with our health, of course, because if we don't have our health, then we can't do anything. Okay,
Mhm.
then we're completely screwed. So it has to be with our health. It has to be with our emotions. It has to be with our spirituality. And this is the whole reason why we're alive. Okay, we're not here just to do, the job that you do, or me to be a scientist, or
That's why we're here to know, love, and serve God. Now,
exactly. That's our
how
purpose.
can you help the people that are watching us right now? And we have the website here and we have a code here. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we've been helping people here for a little over 8 years, and God started my ministry as a ministry, and He started it virtually, right? And then, of course, COVID hit, and the whole thing just completely blew up, and our little tiny ministry just blew up in a really good way, because people were actively looking for
Mhm.
alternative ways to help themselves with their health. And so, what we've done for people, we realized that it's really all about education, right? And giving people the knowledge first so that they can understand that there even is another way to help themselves.
Mhm.
So we created a challenge for people, and it's called the Rise and Heal Challenge. And it's super, super cheap. Like, anybody can do this. And
Mhm.
what we do is we come together live with me and my team, and we teach you the science. We actually show you the scientific papers. We actually show you how to heal your mitochondria. We give you an amazing mitochondrial protocol that people can get started on their own right away. It's not that hard to do. Like, anybody can do this, okay? And we're really showing you at that bottom line fundamental level how, first of all, that there is a better way to help your health. Second of all, that, yeah, you can actually do this. No, you're not too far gone. You're alive. Yes, you can make your cells better. Yes, you absolutely can. Right. And you have a responsibility to do this, especially now. Right. Sorry, my
Amen.
alarm went off. And And so we created this challenge. It's a 3-day challenge. You come in live with us, and it's like an hour a day, or people can do like the VIP experience, and they can have an extra hour where they get a lot more personal attention with me and my team. And it's normally $97 to do this with us. And we're giving you guys here, we're giving you a 50% off coupon. So if you want to come and join us on this challenge and just, rise up, right? Learn something new, do something different that's going to help yourself to grow, not only get better physically, but be able to help your emotions and also help you to grow spiritually. That's what the Rise Heal Challenge is for. And we're giving everybody the 50% off coupon. So when you go to that risehealchallenge.com, just put in Lupus 50 and you'll get 50% off, whether you just want to do the basic challenge or whether you want to do the VIP experience. Either way, you're going to get 50%.
And you calling other people, no matter if they have lupus or diabetes or whatever other autoimmune they have, to go and do this challenge. It doesn't matter. It's not only lupus.
That's right.
Because all autoimmunes come with others. It's not one.
It's not right. It doesn't matter what diagnosis you have or what symptoms you have. If you have chronic symptoms, it all goes back to your mitochondrial health, which then affects your gut health. So people say, oh yeah, it all begins in the gut. It kind of does, because you've got all those mitochondrial cells in your gut as well. I mean, all of your cells in your gut have mitochondria as well, not only your cells, but all the cells of your gut microbiome. Okay. So yes, it all does boil down to gut health and mitochondrial health. And if you don't start working there, you're going to have some results maybe, but you're not going to have great results unless you really learn what the science is saying now about your mitochondria and how to fix it. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what disease you have. It doesn't matter. All chronic diseases really boil down to, so whether you have high blood pressure, whatever symptom you have, whether you've been diagnosed or not, you got rashes, you got, your feet hurt, you got migraines, you got brain fog, you got pain, you got this, you got that, whatever it is.
Whatever ails you, right? Whatever ails you is the mitochondria.
It all goes back. This is what the science says. So you can believe it or not. And if you don't believe it, then I'm going to love you just as much as you walk out the door. But you got to know that you're limiting yourself if you don't learn this today. We're at 2025. We're coming into 2026. The science, we've had this science for years now. So it really is our responsibility to learn how to take better care of ourselves.
Amen.
So that we can be everything that God created us to be, because that's really what life is all about.
That's it. That's right. Well, thank you for being here with us. And I would love to have you another time, because I feel an hour was not enough.
And there's so much, like I could just teach for hours and hours and hours. But that's why people need to come into the Rise Heal Challenge, because that's where you're going to get, a lot more insight, a lot more very specific scientific training. And it's easy. Trust me, I'm not going to make it hard on you.
It's not rocket science for doing the course. So go to risehealchallenge.com and put this code Lupus50 so that you can get 50%. And if you need a health plan, you got until December 15th, which is Monday, to sign in with this so that you can start on January 1st, 2026, your plan. So thank you so much for coming, and we bless everybody. And remember that to take the present moment is all we have. Forget about the past. The future is in God's providence, and we see you guys next time. Please subscribe, and blessings, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Paper trails thicker than a mystery novel. Cash flow ripple make the banks grovel. Phoenix rise, both shut with precision. Generational wealth, that's the mission. Legacy locked, key in the safe. Phoenix fly in no time. tight, playing no shame. Life insured, annuities grow.